Aileen Wuornos, the highway killer. The open highways of Florida, bathed in the glow of neon signs and the hum of passing trucks, became the hunting ground of one of America's most infamous female serial killers, Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose life was a storm of violence, tragedy, and revenge. A troubled beginning, born on February 29, 1956, Aileen Wuornos entered the world already marked by darkness. Her father, a convicted child molester, hanged himself in prison before she ever met him. Her mother abandoned her and her brother, leaving them to be raised by their alcoholic grandparents in Michigan. By the time she was 13, Aileen was homeless, surviving in the woods, selling herself for food and cigarettes. The world had never been kind to her, and in return, she learned to survive by any means necessary. A road paved in blood. By the late 1980s, Wuornos had drifted into Florida, working as a highway prostitute. Men picked her up, expecting a quick encounter. None of them expected death. Her first victim, Richard Mallory, was a man with a dark past of sexual violence. In November 1989, Wuornos claimed he had assaulted her, so she shot him 3 times in the chest. She took his car, his money, and vanished into the night. But one killing wasn't enough. Over the next year, she would murder 6 more men, truckers, salesmen, and drifters, all found shot and abandoned. Each time, she claimed it was self-defense. Each time, her rage grew stronger. The betrayal Wuornos wasn't alone in this life. She had one person she loved, Tyria Moore, a woman she met at a bar. They lived together in seedy motels, spending the stolen money on booze and cheap thrills. But when the police closed in, Tyria turned on her. In a cold twist of fate, she worked with law enforcement, convincing Wuornos to confess in recorded phone calls. The woman Aileen had killed for, lied for, and stolen for, betrayed her to save herself. The trial of a monster. By 1992, Aileen Wuornos stood in a Florida courtroom, facing the death penalty. The media painted her as a monster, a crazed prostitute who killed for fun. But in her eyes, she was the victim. She told the jury she had been raped, beaten, and used her entire life. "I'm tired of being beaten up," she shouted. It didn't matter. She was sentenced to die. A final curse. On October 9, 2002, after spending a decade on death row, Wuornos faced her executioner. She refused a last meal, choosing only a cup of coffee. Before the lethal injection, she uttered her final chilling words. "I'll be back, like Independence Day, with Jesus, I'll be back." And just like that, the highway killer was gone. But her story, her legend, lives on. Was she a monster or a broken woman who had finally snapped? The answer depends on who you ask.